Could you tell them what sort of a person you are?
I don't know at all. I just live moment to moment. So you cannot confine me into a personality. You cannot define me. You cannot predict me. I don't know even myself what I am going to do tomorrow morning. I am simply as open as the existence and as indefinable as the existence itself.
What's up, guys? Back again. Goddamn. And again, I'm super excited about today's episode. And I say that all the time, but it's always true. My guest here today, Ray, aka Bigger Dog, as I affectionately refer to him. I'm gonna give you a little tiny intro,
Okay.
and then fill in some of the pieces.
Okay.
So Ray, one of the reasons I'm always super excited about this show is because I've noticed that in this show, the sum of all the parts individually is no greater than each one. And this is one of them. We met in the gym,
Yep.
right? Cool place to meet people. Always like-minded, trying to better ourselves, etc. And so the little bit I know about you is that you're very hardworking, very dedicated, dedicated father, family man, and firefighter. Fucking real hero of the people. So I'm really excited to dive into that because that's essentially all there is that I know about you.
Okay.
But I know that's not all there is about you. So take that little summary and fill us in a little bit. Who is Ray?
Well, 35 years old. I'm a father of 3. So I got 3 kiddos, 6, 5, and our youngest is about to be 2.
Nice
Yep.
little cluster.
Yeah, we try to knock them out as quick as we could.
Yeah.
Initially wanted 5, but I think I'm going to take a pause right now at 3 because
Yeah.
3 right now seems like a lot. We originally grew up, me and my wife, in California.
Okay.
And did the same firefighting thing out there. I was a medic out there, and we just wanted a better quality of life for the kids.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sorry to interrupt. You
you're
said
good.
you're 35.
Yep.
How long have you been fighting fires?
I got into EMS on the ambulance first around 2013,
Okay.
and then did that for a little bit, and then joined the fire service and was working both of those
So your whole adult life,
pretty much.
you've been doing this.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Cool. So how long ago was it that you came to Colorado?
We moved here in 2019, and
Okay.
it has been the best move we've ever done.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You like it?
Oh, we
You don't
love
want to
it.
go back?
No.
Okay. Cool.
No. Yeah. Quality of life out here is better.
I would
it's-
have never guessed you're from California.
No.
Yeah, you just seem like a local. To me, you seem like a local.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, life's been great. Other than that, man, like you said, I just try to work out, stay healthy, and be a good father.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's my motivation.
Well, that's awesome, and it's really, it's easy to see. And I wouldn't have even guessed because just the other day, I think it was like 3 days ago, you told me that you don't take any rest days. And I was like, wow, like that is a different kind of, like I consider myself a disciplined athlete, if you want to say that or whatever. And I don't know that I could push like that. I'm sure I could if I had to, but
I'm sure you could.
to have that kind of dedication and that discipline, I think speaks volumes to the kind of person you are. And that was already after I had asked you. You had already demonstrated other qualities to me that I felt like merited you being in front of these cameras, to hopefully lend some insight and maybe some experience to people that could benefit from it in one way or another. And that's the whole purpose of this,
Okay.
and that's why I do this. And I think you are the spitting image of like a prime example of the type of person that I want to have up here. So thank you for that.
No,
I just
thank
want
you.
to let you
I
know.
appreciate it. This is awesome.
And with that too, I will say that you are the only firefighter that has been on this, and probably without a doubt the most powerful mustache that has been in front of that camera. So already this episode is lit. Like, we could stop right now. I can post it, 50,000 views.
Oh man, we can keep going.
We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. And one of the things that we're gonna go into, I didn't get to tell you this because we just kind of rushed in here, but there's no rules here. It's unscripted. I don't edit it. If you say something and you realize later, like, damn, I don't want my kids to hear that later, or whatever, you let me know and I'll take it out.
Okay.
It has yet to happen. If you don't feel comfortable talking about anything, let me know, because I'm going to ask you some things that might, and I don't know, but they might be hard to talk about. And with that, I'm going to jump straight into that, because of your profession. I can only imagine some of the experiences that you may have seen and been through, that have maybe shaped you to be who you are or not. So without asking about anything in particular, is there a correlation between the things that you do for your career and the type of drive and work ethic and dedication and other characteristics?
Yeah, I would say absolutely they go hand in hand with each other. You've got to be fully dived into work and understand. It's hard because it's a different industry, and I have this conversation with my wife all the time. When I go into work, I could be happy, sad, whatever. As soon as I hit those doors, man, my mind just flips a switch, and I turn everything off, and it's go mode. And you're kind of on a hyper awareness state for those 48 hours, and when you come off, it's very hard to flip that switch back off and be dad. So I think that's where the gym and going there every day kind of helps me get through that stuff, because
Kind of like a solid...
it's like a little decompression phase for me.
Okay.
Just to get back to reality and man,
process some of
yeah.
the things that you
Yeah.
on either side of
Yep.
that home life, career life
Yeah.
barrier that you have to jump
And we've
across.
talked about that work-life balance. And
Yeah. At the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I was asking you, what's your... I avoid the word resolution, right?
Oh, that's
Especially
all right.
in the gym.
I'm an open book, man. I'll talk about it.
But I asked you what your goals were, and you were like, man, I'm really trying to be more in the present, in more or less words, right?
Yep.
What you explained to me is that you're just what you're talking about, flipping that switch off, because I can't imagine you can do a job like the one that you have with the distractions in your mind, when you're focused on whatever it is you're focused on. I know for most people, when they think of firefighters, they think of running into burning buildings and carrying out babies, which is a part of it.
There's parts of it,
But just the other day, I was in King Soopers, and I saw, a pack of firefighters shopping. And I was with my little 4-year-old, and I was like, look, there's some fucking real heroes right there, dude. Like, you want to say what's up? They drive the fire trucks,
Yeah.
And so my son was super excited. He's like, yeah, let's go say hi. And so I was like, excuse me, gentlemen, we just want to tell you hi. Thank you for everything you do, all this. And I told my son, I was like, these guys run into burning buildings and put out fires. And the sergeant was like, well, we do a lot more than that,
Yeah.
We do, relatively boring things too. We're the first on the scene when someone, et cetera, et cetera. So, but not to take away from the importance, you are a first responder. And you can't respond first if you have other things that you're dealing with, right?
Yep.
So the gym, and I'm sorry for that long-winded sentiment cutting
you're
you
fine.
off. The gym is your decompression.
Absolutely. It's my decompression phase, and it's not every shift is bad. We have great shifts. I got a great crew. All the guys that I work with are awesome, man. And we can talk to each other about stuff, but for me, it's like when I come home, and bless my wife, because she helps me a lot. She's able to watch the kids, so I can come and do my workouts and get my hour and a half in, and that's like the time, like I said, where I could just turn everything off and get the workout done. And then when I leave, man, I just feel like refreshed.
Yeah.
And there's days where we're busy, or we got to get the kids to school, we got to go grocery shopping, and before I know it, we're like halfway through the day, and I'm like, I got a temper, I'm I'm not interacting with the kids, and I'm like, what is going on with me? And I'm like, I haven't worked out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I need to do it every day. Some days not as hard as others, but
Yeah.
I just have to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've noticed, especially with people that don't take a lot of rest days, it's not about your body. It's a mental health thing.
100%.
And I can't relate more, because I always tell people, when, you know, to the layman or somebody who's not experienced the same thing that we have when it comes to working out, they ask me all the time, like, well, you know, why do you work out? I'll be like, look, it's either this or drugs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, if I didn't have this outlet, like, I'm an addict. And I know patterns in my life, and I know that when I stop working out, my mental health goes to shit. And there's more than just your physical health. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I tell people that all the time. That's why when I train clients, I don't tell them, like, hey, you have to stop eating this or you have to stop drinking this, because I understand there's other aspects to your health. That's why I will never tell you, dude, you need to take more rest days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I understand that.
Yeah.
And only to an extent, because I don't do what you do, and I can only imagine that it's even amplified, having to kind of, you know, process through that switch that you have to do.
Yeah.
But you don't seem to express any sort of desire to want to stop doing it.
No, and like you're saying, man, there's been times, and it's kind of weird because I really hit a wall, I think, about a year ago, to where we talk about our bucket getting full with stuff, you know, stress, family, work, whatever it is. And just over the years, my mind's been so callous, it's gotten to the point where we talked about work-life balance. I get home and I have no affection for my kids, and I feel bad because I'm like, man, I'm tapped out.
Emotionally drained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that my bucket's full, man. And I hit my wall. Like, throughout my career, I've seen some pretty nasty stuff, and it's never faced me. It's just, you know, I just put it in the back of my head, and
Right.
it's gone. But this last year's when I really started to focus on working out
Okay.
a lot more.
So it wasn't always like that.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Yeah.
Have you noticed a lot of changes since you've added that into your, you know, your...
I have.
Okay.
I've been a lot more present. My relationship with my wife has gotten a whole lot better.
That's great to hear, man.
Friendships are getting stronger. I mean, it's been great. Another things, like we've talked about, you know, the substance abuse and stuff. Like, there's times where I had bad calls, and, you know, I come home and I'm drowning myself in like a bottle of whiskey
Yeah.
because I just wanted to forget it. And now it's like, you know, drink socially, have fun, but
Yeah.
if I have a bad shift, a bad day, I'm not going to resort to that.
Yeah.
I need to go to the gym, spend time
You
with
have
my family.
other outlets that you can use.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I like that. And, you know, I've experienced this a lot. My father actually was an Army medic for a really long time, and he, much the same way, I think you can't have a job like that and see the things that you guys see. I don't even know what you've seen, but, you know, from my dad's perspective, seeing people come from Tikrit and Afghanistan and all these other places with their fucking arms blown off, the same age as me, you know, his own son.
Yep.
And I can't even chastise him for going home and drowning himself in a bottle, just like
Yep.
you said you were doing. Like,
Yep.
I don't know what that's like, and I probably did it for, you know, much the same reason, but in a different way. And it's kind of one of those things where, how do you go and not be affected by these things? Because you said it doesn't faze you, but I think by explaining to me the way that you deal with them, I think in a way it's evident that it does.
Oh, it absolutely does. And like I said before, it was weird. Like, it would be a thought in the back of my mind, and then it's gone. And I think the turning point for me was having my firstborn son.
Okay.
As before I had him, I had a good handful of some pretty bad kid calls that should have wrecked me, but they didn't faze me because I didn't have a kid at the time.
Yeah. It was harder to empathize
Yeah.
with what they could be
And
feeling.
then when I had my kid, it was like, man, it was a game changer.
Worst nightmare scenario. I can only
It's-
imagine.
It was a eye opener, and I saw things a lot differently after that. And like I said, man, after time, it's just that bucket's gotten full, and I really need to work on that work-life balance and becoming a better person, so I could set the example for my kids, and not just for my kids and my family, but, you know, those around me, because We all go through stuff. You don't have to be a first responder. You could be going through shit, and you can call me up. We can go grab a coffee or something, talk about it.
Yeah.
Hit that decompression phase so you can clear your mind.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's
man.
hard, man. It's heavy weight. A lot of people carry weight, and they got battles you know nothing about. So.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And I really appreciate you saying that because, I think I say this all the time. The best chance that we have to make an impact on the world is to show our children what good people can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was any indication to me that I didn't think you were a good person, I would have never asked you to be here. And that was before getting to learn a little bit more about you. And that's really great, man. I couldn't have put it better myself, especially, having the kid and being able to empathize. There really is something to be said about commonalities between us. When I got a DUI, they make you go to this thing. It's called Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it's this panel, and it's basically a bunch of speakers that talk about their experiences with drunk drivers. And of all the things that I had to do for my DUI, that was the hardest thing that I had to do.
Man.
And I'll never forget this story because I was in my little DUI group, and there was this super cute little girl that was in there with me. And, we kind of had a little bit of a connection. And I was like, I don't know, poor me, I don't know, I can't get to the MAD panel, And this girl was like, I'll take it. And I was like, bet, let's go to this MAD panel, let's knock it out and see what we can do,
Yeah.
And I will never forget, we went to the MAD panel, and she was, I must have been like 23, 24, she was like 21, 22, whatever. But she didn't have any kids. I already had a kid, So we went to this MAD panel, and we were sitting next to each other, and the speakers started coming up and talking about just the most unimaginable things that they had to go through. And bro, I was bawling. Any chance I had with this girl was done after that because I didn't even care. It was like pain. And she was just looking at me like, what the fuck is this guy? And I get it. And if she had a kid, I'm sure it would have been a little bit different for her.
Absolutely.
So props to you for, being able to continue doing that and not letting that stop you, because I'm sure that you've made the difference in a lot of lives in those kind of scenarios. And, I don't know if you want to speak to any of your experiences, you can, but I can imagine that maybe there are some kids that might be here now because of you. Is it accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say so. Yeah, throughout my career, I've had a decent amount of saves. You don't get to save everybody. It's a part of the job.
Right.
It's just like any other job, man. You're doing your job. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But that's why we train, why we study, to be as proficient as we can.
Yeah.
One of the big ones for me was I was working on the ambulance, and just a little backstory. Majority of my trauma came from losing my uncle and my grandfather in an accident, drowning accident. And that's
This was before you.
This was before I started. This is what
Okay.
got me into the fire service. I believe this was 2012, 2013, around the same time. And my brother was out there, or uncle, sorry, was cleaning the pool, and he fell in, and the case that sits on the drain, the pump, had come off, so it created a whirlpool effect. As he got in the pool, he got sucked down. So he drowned. He was living with my grandparents at the time, and neither my grandma or my grandpa knew how to swim. So my grandpa, you watch your son drowning and you don't know how to swim, you're going to jump. So we lost both of them at the same time. And I remember one of his good buddies was actually a firefighter, and his station was the next town over, and he responded to him. And I remember getting the call, and we went down there and watched all the chaos unfold. And it was rough, man. He was like a big brother to me. Me and my dad didn't always have the greatest relationship growing up. So I kind of hung on to him, and losing him was hard for me. So after that day, I met with his friend, and I did a ride along, and man, it was on from there.
This is it.
Yeah,
This
I
is
found
what
out,
I'm-
man.
Damn.
I'm like, these guys, it's the stuff that they do is just awesome.
Yeah.
I was starstruck, and like I said, that first ride along, we get the first call. We're going lights and sirens in this big red truck.
That was
like,
your calling.
This was awesome. So yeah, he became a mentor for me, and showed me the ropes and the process of getting hired, and once all that happened, man, I mean, it was on from there.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, so going back to that, you're talking about experiences. I always dreaded that call, a drowning, because of the ties that I have with it. And I just became a paramedic. I went to school, and it was probably my first week as a medic. And luckily,
you're graduated, now you're in the field.
And it's just you. There's no other medic. You have a EMT with you, and thankfully,
no pressure, right?
Yeah, no pressure. Thankfully, the EMT that I was with has been in the service for about 15 years, so I felt a little bit more confident having her with me and not having to shadow somebody.
Sure.
But yeah, call comes out the gate. First one, we're checking out our rig, and comes in as a drowning, and my heart sunk, man. I was like, oh my gosh.
First week.
Like, yeah. I'm like, I better not freeze on this. And we pull up to this apartment complex, and it's a kid. I think he was about 5 or 6 years old. He was still in the pool when we got there. And as we were walking up, one of the dads jumped in and pulled him out, and he wasn't breathing, and he didn't have a heartbeat. He was in cardiac arrest. So we started working him there in front of everybody. It was a little chaotic, but I remember there was a second where I froze. I just looked at the kid's face, and I remember seeing my uncle's face, and it was like a freeze moment for me. And finally, one of the I think it was the fire captain that had walked up, and he's like, "Hey, Ray, come on, man, we got to move." And I snapped out of it. And I was like, after that, I was able to get the call done, and on our way to the hospital, we got pulses back, and he started vomiting all the water out. So the kid made it, which was awesome. But yeah, man, I had that freeze moment, and I knew from the beginning, like I had, that gut feeling, like, am I going to be able to perform?
Wow, I'm tearing up right now, man. That's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
That's like a universal, and I'm going to avoid the term, but we're getting there right now. But the chances of that all happening like that, coming together, the reason you got into this, your biggest fear, first week as a medic, coming in, everything kind of full circle. And if it wasn't, and I'm not going to say that because obviously there's variances and whatever, but it could be said that had your uncle and grandpa not drowned, that kid might have. It could be said. Maybe that's not true, but
I don't know, man. We'll never know. But yeah, like I said, it's hard, man. There's those ties that you have, especially with like my kid. Now, if I run any kid that's within the age of my children, it gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
But
well, I think I was actually just kind of alluding to this, and this is the perfect segue. This show is called Goddamn, and I don't mean that in like a blasphemous way, right? I actually, my whole idea about this is because my own spirituality, I've always considered myself somewhat of a spiritual person, but it wasn't until the last year or so that I realized that I really had no idea or connection to what we call God. And so I've been kind of really diving into people's perspective on that. And I think it could be argued that the story that you just told has a lot of God in it, whatever that means to anybody. I don't care who, whatever religious background, whatever spiritual background, whatever, that doesn't matter, because what I want to ask you is your idea and your understanding of the concept of what is God.
So growing up, I grew up super religious in the Catholic faith.
Okay.
So we went to church every Sunday. Never really missed church ever. My mom was very strict about it, still is. And
Well, sorry,
No, go
just to
ahead.
break the tension a little bit. Does this offend you?
no, it does not.
Okay, cool. Because I always
It does
ask
not.
the Catholics. I don't know if
No,
you guys
no.
could see this on the camera. Let me put this up
We'll
here.
talk after. I'm just kidding.
Gato Lupe. It's Guadalupe, but it's a cat. I think it's funny, so that's why I got it. Anyway, just wanted to make sure because Catholic. So, very strict Catholic background. Your mom still is.
Yes, my whole family is.
Okay.
So yeah, man, we were super religious growing up, and I remember going through a phase after losing my uncle and my grandfather. I was like, why? Why them? Why did it happen? And I hate to say it, but I had resentment.
Sure.
And I wouldn't say that really strayed me away, but I started to slowly.
Would you say like resentment towards your faith and towards
Yeah.
what you've been
Yeah.
learning to be God?
Yeah. And like I said, man, losing especially my uncle was very, very hard for me because we were so close. And I still go to church when I can, if I'm not working, but that connection wasn't there until, I would say this last year. Like, I know he's there, but I wasn't really talking to him until this last year when I told you my bucket got full.
Okay.
And
so even for you, it's kind of almost in the same boat as me.
Yep.
Cool.
So it's been a roller coaster after losing him, but I would say God to me is the higher power. And even growing up, I was afraid to talk to him because I'm like, is he really, listening?
Yeah.
But now I just see it differently. And the people that I work with right now are a great group of people. And, we talk about God there. We pray before every meal, and it's nice having that presence in the station with us. And again, man, it's not for everybody.
Sure.
But I would say this last year, I have reached out to him more than I ever have in my life, just with the stress. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So would it be safe for me to say that you almost kind of stuffed God away in this kind of like resentful space for the better part of a couple decades, almost, or a decade and a half?
I wouldn't say put him away. I still kept my faith, and but there was a distance there, and I was kind of standoffish about it.
Okay.
And looking back, I don't know why I did that. It could have been, I felt hurt, I felt betrayed, and made me second guess, like, is there really a higher power? And I do see it, and I know that he's there.
Okay. And as far as the Catholic faith, do you still consider yourself part of that denomination?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
So maybe in your heart, in your mind, you strayed spiritually
Yep.
from God. I can understand that, and I've had four or five guests on this podcast say very much similar, the same thing. Why if there's this God that this and that, etc., how could this happen? It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Right? So I don't think that it's outside of the normal feelings for you to have reacted the way you did.
Yep.
And I think that, wow, I didn't know we were going to get this much fucking gold out of this. See, and well, you were nervous, bro. This is probably going to be the best episode. And I want to tie into the last little piece so we wrap this up. The last year, okay, is when you really started getting into working out. Mm-hmm. Decompressing, all the mental things. It sounds like in the last year and the spiritual, growth
Yep.
that you've been experiencing, is there any kind of, determining factor that you can think back on and that like sparked all this, or was it just kind of like a rock just starting to roll down the hill?
No, I would say I hit a wall.
Okay.
I felt very raw, I would say, and empty. I felt it's almost like a state of depression because of everything that I had going on, and that work-life balance that we talked about. And yeah, man, it felt like I hit a wall, and I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody because I was embarrassed. And that's when I started reaching out to God.
Okay. So it was a conscious effort on your
Yep.
part.
Yep.
You were like, I don't like where I'm at. I
Yep.
need to do something to change it. And then
Absolutely.
you started working out your spirituality muscles, and then you started getting into the gym more. Is that right?
I would say it's correct. It's just been, a domino effect that's been
So
getting better for
God
me.
was kind of like the little foot that pushed the rock down the hill. Damn, that's
'Cause
cool,
if
man.
If it isn't for, our higher power upstairs, God, and, having the motivation, the discipline to put that step forward and do things that you don't want to do, I think to get you out of that funk, you're just going to be stuck in a rut. And if it wasn't, for me hitting this wall, I'd probably drown myself in some alcohol. Honestly.
Well, I am eternally grateful that you found what God is and didn't take that route, because we
Yep.
might not have never met each other.
Yep.
And then we couldn't have this.
Yep.
This is cool. This is what I live for, man.
Yeah. This is
And
awesome.
I love learning from people, and I feel like you have so much to teach. And just even with the little, 20, 30 minutes that we've had, I already can feel inspired. And that's powerful, man. That's so awesome. And regardless of what, denomination or sect, I think the way you explain God is a higher power. Is that a safe summary?
Absolutely.
We don't have to get into all the text in the scriptures, right?
Yep.
But a higher power. I think most of us can argue that there is a higher power. And
100%.
that's really cool that you found it, man.
Yep.
So 2 more things. One last thing, because it's a big one for me, is prayer. What is your thoughts on prayer? Like, what do you think when I say it?
So me and my wife do daily devotions. We have them in the morning and we have them at night.
Okay.
So we do that, and then I got this bracelet that my lieutenant got me, which is super cool.
Okay.
I just put my phone up to it, and it gives me a scripture of the day.
Oh, cool.
So we get to do that in the morning, do it again at night. As far as prayer, I would say we do it at least twice a week
Okay.
in my household, me and my wife.
And so when you pray, what does that look like? What kind of?
We're just reading out of our devotion book.
Okay.
And then if it's, if I've got family members that are going through a tough time, if I've got friends that are going through a tough time, all it takes is just a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Just
Like
a quick prayer.
while I got you here,
Yep.
will you look out for my people?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Someone's going through a hard time. Can you just please watch God over them? Bless them with your grace.
Cool, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. And the last thing, I tend to generally have like a little series of questions that I ask towards the end,
Oh, man.
depending on what we get out of today. And honestly, man, this is probably one of the most emotionally charged, I guess, for me, hearing your story and stuff. So what I think I would want to ask you is, if there's any piece of advice, say, and you might think about this because of your line of work, but say tomorrow the worst should happen, and you don't make it home from work, what would you want to leave your kid? One thing, one piece of advice to leave your children. Like, this is it. They're gonna watch this when they're older.
I would just say setting the example of what a leader is. And it's not just for my sons, it's for my daughter. I try to live a good, hardworking, respectful life, and I hope that my kids see that. And like I said, I wasn't always the best because I shut them out and I was going through my stuff, but I just want them to know that they can always reach out for help, and I always want them to set that example. Lead by example, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Just being a good human being, man. There's a lot of evil in this world. There's a lot of bad people, and I mean, if you could sprinkle a little bit of that grace on other people, it'll go a
It's
long
the
way.
best chance that we have.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Great. Well, how do you feel now?
I feel good now.
You're
but
not
man,
nervous
come
anymore?
down, man.
Cool.
Coming in here,
What
was
did I
like,
tell
man,
you?
what are we going to talk about?
What did I tell you? So, thank you so
Hey,
much.
thank you
for being
I
here.
appreciate it.
Any burning desires? Last things you want to say? Shout outs? Any?
Shout out to you, man. This is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Like
Thanks.
I said, I was nervous. This whole setup.
It's nice.
This is nice.
It's fancy. We
Very
got
nice.
a professional fucking technician
Yep,
over here.
back there.
God, man, this is cool. Goddamn, guys, better believe it. Well, all right. With that, we'll wrap it up. Do a little outro, and we're good.
All right, man.
All right, guys. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye forever. Until next time. And just remember, goddamn.